So yeah, I think I've made it clear at least once or twice throughout the history of this channel that I'm not really fond of that Ouija board, ghosty, ghouly kind of horror because it's so fucking specific how the ghost haunts you, and everybody always finds a conveniently placed journal that somebody was keeping or an old manuscript that an ancient monk had written or something. Just, I hate these movies generally. And if it wasn't for the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes giving this movie an overwhelming 100%, I don't know if I would have bothered with this movie, but here I am, you know, watching reruns of Beavis and Butthead on Paramount Plus and seeing this movie getting advertised over and over again, and suddenly 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you know how good you have to be to get a 100% on any review aggregator? It's a lot harder than being so bad that you get a 0, I can tell you that for sure. So alright then, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, you say? Okay, game on. My wife and I ended up going to go see The Black Phone over the weekend, and I am so glad that I took that advice too, because this movie is really good. Before we get too far into it, just a little side note slash little tangent of mine here. Have you ever noticed how many horror movies are just setting themselves in the 70s or the 80s or even the 60s in some cases lately? And a lot of that is because people are convinced that the cell phone is like the be-all, end-all, you know? Oh no, I'm trapped in the woods. Oh, we got a flat tire. Oh, we're stranded. What are we gonna do now? Well, I got a cell phone. The day is saved. Yeah. When I first moved in here with my wife, I was on Verizon, and I couldn't even get cell phone coverage in this house. I hate to think what it would be like if I got stranded in the woods with that fucking thing. But I'm not gonna hold that against the movie. I'm not gonna hold that against any movie, really. Like, maybe they were going for a certain ambiance, maybe they were just kind of building from their past life experience or something. It's just something I've kind of noticed lately, and I don't want to say it bugs me, but enough people do it to where I notice it lately, is all I'm trying to say. And this movie is no exception to that rule. The year is 1978, and a mysterious serial killer known simply as the Grabber has been abducting children off the streets. One day, our main character, known simply as Finney, gets kidnapped by the Grabber himself and is locked in the basement. But that's when he spots the Black Phone. Despite the fact that the phone line is cut, the phone keeps ringing, and every time he picks it up, it's a past victim of the Grabber. Every single victim has a new hint for him on how to win the Grabber's game and how to avoid getting killed. As the movie was going on, I came to the conclusion that the killer known as the Grabber is clearly based on John Wayne Gacy, and it's, I would hesitate to say not subtle, but like, if you're a guy like me, and this sounds really morbid when I say it out loud, but I had kind of a fascination with serial killers in my early college years. Like, I even did a essay, I did like kind of a PowerPoint presentation about like serial killer origins for my criminology class back in the day. That was how into it I was, and to be fair, so was everybody else, because Dexter was really huge back then, but somebody like me who's done his homework and knows about your guys like John Wayne Gacy or Albert Fish or what have you would probably pick up on this more than some regular schmuck who's just going to the theaters, you know, derp, serial killer. What do you mean by that? You mean he kills the toucan on the Fruit Loops box? God, I hope nobody's that stupid, but you know what I mean. Like, in some ways it's pretty obvious they were going for that, like when the Grabber is kind of like posing as a street magician, and in other subtle ways, like in a little story I remember hearing where one of Gacy's victims looked up at him and said, "Aren't you gonna kill me?" And Gacy looked down at him and said, "I'm thinking about it." This movie has done what so many ghost movies like Paranormal Activity, The Conjuring, the entire fucking Conjuring universe for that matter, this movie has done what all of those movies and all of their knockoffs have failed to do spectacularly. It fucking captivated me. It held my attention from start to finish. And if you have to do a ghost movie, this is how you do it right here. Go ahead and have a weird mechanic like a haunted telephone full of the spirits of kids who have been killed by this killer, you know. Go ahead and have that gimmick, but make it so easy that even a kid can figure it out. Quite literally in this case. I mean, Finney figures out what's going on about as quickly as the rest of the audience does. You know, you don't need to make this so goddamn complicated. You know, you don't have to make a ghost who will only haunt you if you look directly into the mirror, clap your hands 3 times, do a pirouette, and then fart, you know? Meanwhile, the only way to get rid of them is locked away in this ancient journal that some fucking Hindu monk or whatever wrote. Do Hindus have monks? I don't know. I'm getting off my... I'm going on a completely different tangent here. This movie figured out how to do it. This movie figured out how to get me interested in a fucking ghost movie, which in of itself deserves 4 hats out of 4. But everything else in the movie is just so well done. Bottom line, the hype is legit. This movie is great. If it still has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes when you see this review, believe me when I say that 100% is deserved. Hands down, 4 hats out of 4.